When the one-legged soldier asked, "Can I share this table?" the janitor didn't look up at first. The cafeteria was loud, ordinary, forgettable, until the man finally answered with a sentence so quiet, so unexpected, that it froze the soldier where she stood. What he said would unravel a past she had buried, expose a promise broken by war, and turn a forgotten corner of the building into the place where both of their lives changed forever. Stay with this story, because the real meaning of his reply isn't revealed until the very last moment. The rain had been falling since dawn, the kind that soaks through courage as easily as it does clothes. The government hospital cafeteria smelled of disinfectant, burnt coffee, and tired hope. Tables were crowded with visitors clutching paper cups, doctors staring into their phones, and patients pretending not to hurt. Near the wall, beneath a flickering fluorescent light, a janitor sat alone with a dented lunchbox and a folded newspaper he never seemed to read. Captain Sarah Malik paused just inside the doorway, her metal prosthetic leg clicked softly against the tile as she scanned the room for an empty seat. Every step reminded her of what she'd lost in a desert half a world away. She was used to the stares now, the quick glances that tried not to look like pity, the uncomfortable smiles, but today they felt heavier. Today was the anniversary of the blast. Today she had come for a routine checkup that never felt routine. She spotted the janitor's table. One empty chair. One quiet corner. She hesitated. Asking for help used to be easy. Now it felt like surrender. Still, she walked over. "Excuse me," she said gently. "Can I share this table?" The janitor didn't answer right away. He was older, his back curved like a question mark, his uniform faded from too many washes. His hands were rough, scarred in ways that didn't come from mops alone. He slowly folded the newspaper, set it aside, and finally looked up at her face, not her leg, not her rank insignia, but her eyes. "No," he said softly. The word hit her harder than the explosion ever had. She nodded once, swallowing the sting. "Of course. Sorry to bother you." She turned to leave, heat rising behind her eyes. When his voice stopped her, "Sit down," he added. "I didn't say no because you can't. I said no because you shouldn't have to ask." She froze, confused. She turned back. The janitor was pulling out the chair for her, his hands trembling just slightly. Around them, the cafeteria noise seemed to dim. "My name is Yusuf," he said. "And that table, it belongs to anyone who's carried more than they should have." Something inside Sarah cracked open. She sat. They ate in silence. She noticed the way he favored his left hand, the old burn scars along his wrist. She noticed the small metal peeking from his pocket, hidden like a secret. And she noticed how he flinched every time a tray clattered too loudly. "You were military," she said finally. Yusuf smiled sadly. "Once. Long ago. Long enough to know that some wars never end." The rain outside intensified, drumming against the windows like distant gunfire. Sarah felt herself leaning forward, drawn into the gravity of his presence. "I lost my leg in service," she said. "Everyone thanks me for it. But no one asks what it cost." Yusuf nodded slowly. "They never do." Then he said something that made her heart stop. "I cleaned blood off a floor that day," he whispered. "And I've been trying to clean it off my soul ever since." Sarah stared at him, realizing that this meeting, this table, was not an accident. And somewhere deep inside, she knew the real story was only beginning. They met again the next day. And the day after that, the cafeteria table became a quiet island where time behaved differently. Sarah talked about the desert heat, the split second when her life divided into before and after. Yusuf talked about a younger man he once was, a medic who couldn't save everyone, who learned too late that survival can feel like failure. One afternoon, Sarah asked the question that had been growing inside her. "Why are you really here, Yusuf? Why this job?" He looked at the floor for a long time before answering. "Because this hospital is where my daughter died," he said. "And where my granddaughter was saved." Sarah's breath caught. "My daughter was a nurse," he continued. "She stayed late during an emergency. A bombing. Chaos. I arrived too late. I cleaned the floor afterward because it was the only way I could stay close to her." "And your granddaughter?" Sarah asked. "She lost her leg," Yusuf said quietly. "Just like you. She survived. But her mother didn't." The room felt unbearably still. Sarah realized then why his reply on that first day had stunned her so deeply. Why he hadn't looked at her with pity. He had already loved someone who walked with one leg. He had already learned that strength doesn't come from what remains, but from what you choose to carry forward. Weeks passed. Sarah's appointments ended. It was time for her to leave the city. On her last day, she found Yusuf's table empty. A note waited for her. You asked to share my table. The truth is, you shared my burden. Today, I'm finally ready to set it down. She found him outside, mopping rainwater from the steps. Where will you go? She asked. Home, he said. To be a grandfather. Not a ghost. They stood there in the rain, two survivors stitched together by chance and courage. As Sarah walked away, her prosthetic clicked against the ground, but this time, it sounded like a promise, not a reminder. She understood now what his answer had truly meant. Some tables aren't meant to divide people. They're meant to remind us that no one heals alone, and that sometimes, the most stunning reply isn't the one that lets you sit down, but the one that tells you that you were never meant to stand alone in the first place.